Story 1. Am I the a-hole for leaving my sister and her new husband stranded on their honeymoon because they wouldn't stop pranking me? I, 28M, have a younger sister, 26F, who's always been a prankster. I've usually gone along with it, but during her wedding and now her honeymoon, it's been way over the top. She and her new husband planned their honeymoon in a beautiful mountain cabin a few hours away, and she asked if I could drive them there since they didn't want to rent a car. I agreed since they're family, and it was a way for me to contribute without buying an expensive gift. From the moment I picked them up, they were in full prank mode. They switched my GPS to another language, hid my phone when I wasn't looking, and kept messing with the radio. I laughed it off, but I was also kind of annoyed because it was a long drive. When we got to the cabin, they convinced me to stay for a bit, check out the view, and grab a bite to eat. Then they took my keys and hid them. I spent almost 45 minutes looking for them while they laughed their heads off. When I finally found my keys, I told them I was done and ready to go home. My sister begged me to stay longer, but I'd had enough of the honeymoon pranks. As I was leaving, they sprayed silly string all over my car, which I just cleaned before the trip. So, I got in my car and left, but I didn't realize until I was halfway home that my sister had left her purse and my brother-in-law left his phone in the backseat. They started blowing up my phone, begging me to come back, but I was exhausted and honestly didn't feel like dealing with another prank. So I said they could come get their stuff when they got back. They managed to get a friend to bring it to them the next day, but now they're mad at me for ruining the start of their honeymoon. My sister says I'm being too sensitive and can't take a joke, but I think they went too far. Am I the a-hole for leaving them stranded? You're not the a-hole here. Your sister and her husband took their pranks way too far, especially when you were doing them a favor by driving them. It's one thing to joke around, but hiding your keys and wasting your time while they laughed at your expense crossed a line. After that, the silly string on your freshly cleaned car just showed they weren't respecting your efforts or patience. Leaving with their things was an honest mistake, and you didn't owe them a return trip after they'd pushed you to your limit. Your sister saying you can't take a joke just shows she isn't respecting your boundaries. They need to realize that even pranks have limits, and you deserve to be treated with respect. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for giving my husband the cold shoulder after he ruined my Halloween? For context, I'm a 25F and my husband is 29M. I am pregnant with our first baby, and I am 6 months pregnant. This Halloween, I was clearly ecstatic to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters. Where I live, Halloween is a massive thing, and everyone gets into it. I decorated the outside of our house, bought loads of candy beforehand, DIY'd a costume, and had been talking about it for weeks. However, my husband is a bit of a grouch when it comes to holidays. He had a bad childhood and heavily dislikes Halloween. He's always put up with it though, because he knows I love it. This year, whenever a trick-or-treater knocked at our door, he'd answer before I had a chance and scare them off, yell at them, and make scary noises to literal children. I'm talking like 5-year-olds. I told him to stop multiple times. He said he was having his fun, and I needed to stop being such a party pooper. By the end of the night, I had only handed out candy to a few kids and was very clearly upset with him. He told me I was overreacting, but he knew I was excited for Halloween, and he purposely went out of his way to ruin it. So since that night, I've been giving him the cold shoulder. I've tried to express my disappointment, but he just won't listen and says I'm hormonal. We have a conjoined friend group, and some of them say I'm being an asshole and need to grow up because it's a child's holiday, while others say I'm totally reasonable because he ruined the holiday I was excited for. So, I'm looking for some outside perspective. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I left out some information here, and hopefully this can clear some things up. First off, yes, I was also mad he terrorized innocent children. I made sure to give extra candy to the children and apologize to them and their parents profusely. I thought it was obvious I would have apologized. And secondly, no, he doesn't usually act like this around kids. If he did, I never would have married him, let alone let him impregnate me. Update 1. Hello all. I didn't expect to update this, but everyone wanted to know, so here I am. First off, thank you for all your advice. It really gave me some insight and I appreciate it deeply. Anyways, onto the update. I waited for my husband to come home from work. I messaged him and told him we needed to talk once he got home, and he replied with a thumbs up. When he got home, I sat him down and attempted to have a rational conversation with him, expressing my disappointment at the ruined holiday and why I was upset with him for terrifying children considering he was a soon-to-be father. I suggested that we go to couples therapy to discuss boundaries and behavior, and he goes to individual therapy to talk about his own issues. He blew up immediately, accusing me of disregarding his trauma and basically just yelling at me for being weak. He insisted he didn't need therapy, but his response reinforced that he did. He went as far as to punch a wall and destroy furniture. Total maniac mode. I had pre-packed a bag in case it led to this, thanks to your comments guys, and I left for my parents' house. He was berating me as I left the house, but I paid no mind. My parents are obviously on my side. My older brother was absolutely furious and swore to beat my husband's ass. I told him not to do that. He's always been a bit over the top. I'm going to listen to everyone's advice and get a divorce. I don't want my baby surrounded by that kind of immature bully. I'm going to try and get full custody. Our house has cameras, so I have proof of his adult tantrum, so I hope that can be proof. My brother and dad are going to come with me to collect my things while my soon-to-be ex-husband is at work. I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you for all your support and helpful comments. I can't believe this happened all within the span of almost a day. Life is crazy. You're absolutely not the a-hole. You put so much effort into making Halloween special, only for your husband to actively ruin it, and on top of that, he scared young children. Ignoring your repeated requests to stop and then brushing off your feelings by blaming hormones is dismissive and hurtful. You had every right to feel disappointed, especially when he knew how much this holiday meant to you. The update only confirms that his behavior was not just insensitive but alarming. A healthy relationship involves respecting each other's happiness and boundaries, especially with a baby on the way. His reaction to therapy and his aggressive outburst are red flags for any future family life. You're making a responsible choice for yourself and your child by creating a safe environment. It's clear that you're taking the necessary steps to move forward, and your family's support will be invaluable during this transition. Story 3. My kids won't come to Thanksgiving or Christmas. I have 2 daughters who are both in college. We have a family group chat with my parents, all of my siblings, and all the grandchildren. My parents and siblings are all Trump voters/supporters and are not shy about it. Most family gatherings will devolve into arguing between them and myself. I grew up in the shit show. My kids did not. After the election, my kids silently left the group chat. My mother and sisters are trying to plan Thanksgiving through the chat. When my mother noticed my daughters left, she called to ask me why. I told her they are grown adults and she would need to ask them. So she did. One of my 2 daughters is lesbian. When my mother asked the 2 girls, they told my mom that they would no longer be attending any family functions, including Christmas and Thanksgiving. This created a shit show on an epic scale in the family chat. My mother tried to explain to my kids that their vote had nothing to do with them. My oldest explained that they exposed their character and they were raised to not engage with people that condone rape, lying, and cheating. She told my mother that your votes will directly impact our lives in a negative way, and you guys did not care. You chose a politician's hollow words over your grandkids. There was more, and I'm paraphrasing. My parents and siblings are furious. I think it's important to say that I pay for both of my kids' college, their health insurance, car insurance, food, and gas. I pay for airfare when they come home. They don't work. My deal with them was if they went to school and got good grades, I would pay if I could. My mother wants me to cut them off until they come to Thanksgiving and Christmas. I said no. I have my kids back and they are adults. I will not force them to make a choice they don't want to make. My siblings are saying I'm an asshole and I'm dividing the family. I honestly never thought I'd be in this insane situation, but here we are. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole? TLDR. My kids refuse to see my family after the election and my parents want me to force them. They are adults, but I pay for college for both. And yes, this is real. So piss off. Edit. Good Lord, people. First of all, I am a father, not a mother. Second, I am of course backing my children up. I have told my kids we will be flying out to them for the holidays. Third, for those of you implying I can't or won't cut my family off, I have. I grew up in a severely physically and verbally abusive household. I cut them off when I was younger and went away to the military. I thought when I got older I would be the bigger person and give my family mother a chance. That was obviously not the right move. I am backing my kids up and cutting the toxic family off. As for those of you implying that my kids are entitled brats or anything similar, shame on you. You're judging my children based on this post. You don't know anything about the 2 grown women in question. Your knee-jerk reaction is to immediately jump to name-calling and shunning. I guess that is not surprising based on who these comments are coming from. Educated women with opinions of their own and the ability to stand up for what they think is right is incredibly infuriating and scary to the same sort of people. Once again, yes, I'm real. They are real and this situation is real. If you don't believe it, I don't give a single fuck. You can move along. No need to even post your hate. This is a tough situation, and I have to say, it's admirable that the parent here is standing by their daughter's choices and respecting their boundaries. It's clear he's putting his kids' well-being first, even though it's led to a lot of conflict with the rest of the family. Now, I don't want to comment too deeply on this one because it involves politics, and I'd rather not dive into that. But what do you think, viewers? Let me know your reactions in the comments. I'm curious to see your thoughts on how this family is handling things. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for repeating what my brother-in-law said about my sons and getting him uninvited from Thanksgiving? 35M here. I'm a husband and father of 5-year-old identical twin boys. Our boys are adorable and sweet, but are definitely high energy and keep us on our toes. My wife is pregnant with our 3rd and last child, and we recently found out we're having a girl. My wife is an incredible mom, but she had a hard childhood. Her father sexually abused her and eventually went to prison for it. My wife isn't estranged from her mom, but she's not particularly close with her either. My wife cares a lot that our children are safe and happy after the childhood she endured. She absolutely adores our sons and has never once seen them as anything other than her sweet babies. My older sister, 38F, has 2 daughters and is married to a dude named Sean. I love my sister, but her husband can be a jerk and often makes rude comments without thinking about their impact. My wife doesn't like to talk about her abuse, but my family knows what happened since it's a huge part of her family's history, and her mom is pretty vocal about her ex-husband. My parents, sister, and brother have never expressed anything other than support for my wife and sadness that she had that experience. But Sean has made some odd comments. I never told my wife this, but before we got married, he said I was a good man for sticking with a girl with that much baggage. Anyways, last night, we went to my sister and Sean's house for dinner. My wife was in a great mood and was excited to share that we're having a little girl. My sister was thrilled and congratulated us. Sean said congratulations, but then mentioned he's relieved we're not having another boy. I asked what he meant, and Sean said the risk of a girl turning out the wrong way is much lower. Again, I asked him to clarify. He proceeded to ask my wife if she ever worried she would pass her family's sexual problems down to our kids. My wife was shocked and horrified, and said what her father did has nothing to do with our children. Sean said that the issues her father had are genetic, and so statistically, we're more likely to have boys with the same problem. My wife asked how he could possibly look at our sweet, innocent boys and worry that they'll grow into monsters. Sean said that her father was a sweet, innocent boy once too, and he still molested her. My wife started sobbing and I was in complete shock. My sister said that Sean was being insensitive, but maintained that he was technically right. She said they didn't think our kids would turn out like their grandfather, but it's something to watch for, just in case. I wanted to punch Sean in that moment, but my wife begged me to just get the boys and go. My wife cried the whole drive home. I told my wife that our kids are not going to be like her father, and she said she knows. But it's hard to know family members would judge innocent children because of something their grandfather did. My wife and I were talking about it more, and we realized that Sean has always been a bit weird towards our kids. He gets agitated when they're energetic and seems overprotective of his girls around them. For example, once, the kids were all having a pillow fight and one of my sons accidentally hit one of his female cousins in the eye. He apologized, cried because he hurt her, and gave her a big hug. My brother-in-law yelled at my son and said he was being aggressive towards his daughter. Everyone thought the reaction was overblown at the time since it was clearly an accident. But now, I wonder if he reacted that way because he's expecting my sons to turn out the wrong way. I called my mother this morning and explained the entire conversation. My mom was horrified and agreed that what my brother-in-law said was insane and unacceptable. I told my mom that my wife is pregnant and doesn't need any additional stress, so if my SIL and brother-in-law are going to be at Thanksgiving, we'll be celebrating on our own. My mom is very upset about what Sean said about her grandkids, and she agrees that he shouldn't be at Thanksgiving this year. I got a call from my sister an hour ago, and she's furious. She says her husband was just voicing a concern, especially since they have daughters, and we took it the wrong way. She also said that her daughters want to see their grandparents on Thanksgiving, and they're being punished for what their dad said. I said that my boys were being judged based on their genetic relationship to a man they've never even met. My sister asked if I'd call our mom and ask her to reconsider, and I said absolutely not. Am I the a-hole? You are absolutely not the a-hole here. It sounds like you handled the situation with a lot of patience and understanding, given how hurtful Sean's comments were. It's natural to want to protect your wife and children from harmful assumptions and judgments, especially when they stem from such a personal, traumatic part of your wife's past. The insinuations Sean made about your innocent boys based on their maternal grandfather's actions were not only insensitive, but completely uncalled for. It's no wonder your wife was devastated by his remarks. You took appropriate action by setting boundaries, especially since your wife is pregnant and doesn't need additional stress. Your decision to prioritize her well-being and protect your children from these kinds of accusations is responsible parenting. Your mother seems to agree that what was said was unacceptable, which reinforces that your decision to limit interactions was justified. Your sister may feel it's unfair that her children are missing out on Thanksgiving with the family, but the real issue here is Sean's behavior, not yours. You gave your family the choice to either respect your boundaries or celebrate separately, and your mother chose to support you and your wife. You're prioritizing your family's mental and emotional health, which is admirable. So no, you're not the a-hole. You're a protective and supportive husband and father, standing by your family and maintaining boundaries that keep everyone safe and respected. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for refusing to work Thanksgiving so my coworker can celebrate with her kids? I am 28F. I recently got engaged and have been at my current job for a little over 2 years now. I love my job and feel honored to do it, but one downside is that we're needed 365 days a year, and so it's common to work on holidays. The general rule is that individuals who are new are first in line to work on Thanksgiving and Christmas. There's also an informal expectation that individuals without kids will cover those shifts, so parents can celebrate with their families. People at work especially seem to care about moms being home with their children. This year, I'm scheduled to work on Christmas but get Thanksgiving off. This is my first holiday off since I've been on the job, so I'm very excited. One of my coworkers, June, was in the same hiring class as me. She's a few years older because she started grad school late and is married with 2 young kids. On Friday, she approached me and asked if I would be willing to cover her shift on Thanksgiving so she could celebrate with her kids. I was a bit upset, since I've been looking forward to celebrating with my family, fiancé, and future in-laws this year. As I mentioned, I just got engaged, and this is the first time our families are doing a blended holiday. I explained the situation to June, and she said that her daughters deserve to have their mom with them on Thanksgiving. I suggested celebrating the holiday on a later date with her family because I wasn't going to be covering for her. June was annoyed and said I was breaking the informal code of the office. I spoke to my mentor about this. She's in her 50s and has kids, and she thinks I should have agreed to cover for June so her kids could be with their mother on Thanksgiving. I said that the expectation isn't fair, since June was the one who decided to have kids and also chose an intense line of work where she sometimes has to work holidays. Additionally, it's unfair that individuals who chose not to have children are penalized for the decisions of others and are expected to always work holidays. She asked me to take a step back and realize it's not about being fair to June or me, but doing what's right for the kids who already don't get to see their mother as often as they'd like because she's serving our country. She said if I chose to have kids one day, I may think about it differently. I'm pretty clear about the fact that when I decide to have kids, I won't expect my coworkers to pay the price for that decision. I'll note that my job is certainly a public service, and the institution prides itself on doing what's best for the country rather than for ourselves. I'm all right with sacrificing my time to help the general public, but also, I don't think I should be pressured into working every holiday so my coworkers can be with the kids they brought into this world. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole here. It's completely fair to want to enjoy Thanksgiving off with your family and fiancé, especially since this is your first holiday off in years. While it's unfortunate that your coworker has to work, it's not automatically your responsibility to cover just because you don't have kids. Expecting child-free employees to always cover for parents isn't fair. Everyone's holiday plans are important, and you deserve time with loved ones just as much as she does. You offered a reasonable solution by suggesting she celebrate another day, and wanting to stick to your own plans doesn't make you selfish. What do you guys think? Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Catch you in the next one.